Hello and welcome to the news at 5, live on Channels Television. I'm Dominic Iwiwu with the stories and reports we're tracking at the moment. We start off in Taraba State, where traditional rulers in the southern part of the state are raising alarm over the unabated killing and influx of their lands by suspected military headers. They are appealing to the Nigerian army to shift attention to the zone to avert further loss of lives and property.
This critical meeting between traditional rulers in southern Taraba, local government chairmen, youth leaders and the Nigerian army is to identify the remote and immediate causes of the attacks, check loopholes in the security architecture of the area and seek ways to arrest it early before it degenerates.
Commanding Officer 93 Battalion.
The meeting is sequel to the rate of killings in communities in the area, which has led to increased displacements, kidnapping and a humanitarian crisis.
They macheted one of my men when they were in his farm. Before I know again, they stabbed one of my men again, and they disappear. So this is bringing me a little fear.
They are not using firearms, from what I was told. They are using either cutlasses or machetes, and if you are in the farm, you meet you alone and you say anything, they will machete you. Now, the second issue is that of theft and kidnapping. There is an upsurge, from what I was told the day yesterday, in theft of motorcycles and kidnapping for ransom.
The Taraba State Chairman, Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, is appreciative of the Nigerian Army stepping in and assures them of robust collaboration to address the situation.
We always receive messages of killings and destruction. The Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association is willing to collaborate with security agencies, traditional rulers, and ensure that those behind the heinous acts are apprehended and brought to book.
The Commander 6th Brigade Nigerian Army, who is in charge of Sector 3 of Operation Whirl Stroke, Brigadier General Kingsley Uwa, is insisting that no perpetrator will escape justice, as already 2 suspects have been arrested.
More clearance operations, patrols, intelligence-driven strikes will continue until these criminals are rooted out permanently. Bandits will not find refuge in southern Taraba. And that means we all have to work together.
The meeting ends with a stern warning by the Army that all collaborators and merchants of crisis will be eliminated and Taraba made safe for all.
And now the Senate has advanced the bill aimed at tackling extreme poverty and strengthening nationwide social protection systems, moving it through second reading on Tuesday. Sponsored by Senator Ojus Okalu, the proposed legislation seeks to reinforce existing social welfare programs and create a more reliable framework for assisting vulnerable Nigerians. During the debate, Senator Kalu stressed that the bill addresses one of the country's most urgent concerns, the persistence of widespread poverty. He noted that despite years of interventions, millions still lack access to essential services due to the absence of a unified, data-driven institution capable of coordinating welfare initiatives effectively. In a similar development, the Senate also progressed a separate bill seeking to repeal the 2004 Births and Deaths Registration Act and replace it with a modernized 2025 civil registration system that will fully digitize records nationwide. And now the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Mr. Benjamin Kalu, and Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, are lending their voices to the advocacy for equal rights for people living with disabilities, as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the International Disability Day. While the Deputy Speaker at a function in Abuja decries the low-impact level of the law prohibiting violence and discrimination against people with disabilities, the First Lady, who was represented by the wife of the Plateau State's governor, emphasizes the need to empower people living with disabilities. The World Disability Day is marked on December 3rd every year to raise awareness about the challenges faced by people with disabilities and promote disability rights and inclusion.
Persons with disabilities arrived early at the banquet hall of the Plateau State Government House in Jos, some in wheelchairs, others guided by walking aides or relatives, as they gathered to mark the 2025 World Disability Day in Plateau State. The wife of the state governor is representing Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, as she launches the Renewed Hope Economic Empowerment Program, an initiative to promote disability inclusion.
It is worth noting that over the past 2 years, the Renewed Hope Initiative has supported over 100,000 women, petty traders, and small business owners, including persons with disabilities, with direct financial grants to grow their businesses.
The Renewed Hope Economic Empowerment Program provides 2,000 Naira business recapitalization grants to 250 people with disabilities in each state, with another 50 million per state for implementation.
Okay. Your Excellency.
In a related development, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, along with members of the diplomatic community, attended a similar function to mark the day in Abuja. Emphasis on the event is on the need to promote equal rights for people with disabilities, especially in the workplace.
This year's theme, Fostering Disability Inclusive Societies for Advancing Social Progress, is a call to action to create a society built on disability equity. Disability equity benefits everyone. It unlocks economic growth and reduces poverty.
Nigeria's Discrimination Against Persons Living with Disabilities Act was signed into law in 2018. 7 years down the line, the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, is unhappy with the level of implementation and advocates for the need to scale up.
The enactment of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act in 2018 was a watershed moment for our nation. We're gathered here today, 7 years after this act that we signed, because the reality in our workplaces does not yet match the promise of our laws. 7 years after.
The Nigeria Disability Law prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities and imposes sanctions, including fines and prison sentences on those who contravene it. The law also stipulates a 5-year transitional period for modifying public buildings, structures, and automobiles to make them accessible and usable for people with disabilities.
Over here in Lagos State, the state's government has reaffirmed its commitments to inclusive, sustainable and resilient economic growth at the 3rd Economic Roundtable discourse hosted to chart a path forward in the state. The State Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Mr. Okpe George, made this known at the 2026 Lagos Economic Outlook held at Alausa Ikeja. He says the state's government is working towards implementing a data-driven and future-focused policy as it transitions into the 2026 fiscal year.
It's the 3rd Lagos Economic Roundtable for the year 2026 Economic Outlook, and commissioners from the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, Wealth Creation and Employment, state parastatals, business leaders have all come to chart a way forward in unlocking emerging sectors for an inclusive, resilient and prosperous Lagos economy. The annual event put together by the State Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget is to help guide Lagos State's medium-term expenditure framework for the 2026 budget and future policy priorities.
Being the third of its kind, has projected some insight for government, has highlighted directions to guide governance and to be able to reflect in some macroeconomic indices that will further, show stability in terms of our ease of doing business and economic development.
For the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, it is important to review Lagos' economic performance across key sectors, identifying what worked well, what requires refinement, and to identify new opportunities yet untapped.
Our policies and investments for 2026 and beyond must therefore be deliberate, data-driven, and strongly future-focused. The theme of this discourse, Building Forward, Unlocking Emerging Sectors for an Inclusive, Resilient, and Prosperous Lagos Economy, captures this mandate. It challenges us to build, not just back, but forward, stronger, smarter, more innovative, and more inclusive.
A renowned economic expert, Professor Biodun Adedipe, calls for stronger attention to technology, real estate, and financial services that can drive economic growth in the state.
Are we looking at how to create an environment where quality jobs, not just any jobs, are being created in Lagos State? Then, of course, larger profit. That speaks to enterprises, profit-seeking enterprises, that we now look at Lagos as a place to be where we can create wealth.
As the Lagos State government draws the curtain on the 2025 fiscal year and prepares for the 2026 budget cycle, it has reaffirmed its commitment to reposition Lagos as Africa's most dynamic and equitable subnational economy where businesses can thrive for all citizens.
Now, the leadership turmoil rocking the All Progressives Congress in Cross River State has escalated, with the State Executive Committee unanimously removing Chairman Alphonsus Oga Eba from office. Party officials accused Mr. Eba of mismanaging party funds, withholding stipends, and running what they describe as an unprogressive leadership that left the party secretariat locked for more than 3 months. Attempts to persuade him to resign were reportedly ignored, prompting his impeachment. Leaders say the persistent internal crisis was weakening party cohesion and disrupting preparations for upcoming political activities. In response, the committee has appointed Ntufam Ekum Ekok Ojogu as acting chairman to restore order and steer the party until the State Congress elects a substantive leader. Now, it was a night of unity, reflection, and celebration in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, as Governor Basio II hosted an unprecedented award ceremony in honor of all 4 former governors of the state. The event, which also featured the symbolic lighting of the state ceremonial Christmas tree, marks the official commencement of 32 days of Carnival Calabar festivities.
As part of activities marking the 20th anniversary of Carnival Calabar, an event which has been tagged Africa's biggest street party, the Cross River State government says it's planning to make it a memorable experience. To kick off the 32-day festivities, all past governors of the state have been honored in a duo event at the Millennium Park in the capital, Calabar, which unfolds under a sky filled with color and unity. The presence of all 4 former governors, Clement Avery, Donald Duke, Senator Lee Elimoke, and Professor Ben Ayade, spices up the occasion.
I opened the doors after the creation of this state, and you've done what Winston Churchill used to say. He said, the farther back you look, the farther forward you can see. I think that having done this, you're going to see a lot further.
It's daunting, it is onerous, but you know, the beauty of it is it brings all our peoples, diverse as we are, to one unique event where we celebrate ourselves.
The emotional moment transitions into the presentation of Legacy Service Awards. Each past governor is honored for their distinct contributions, from pioneering tourism and infrastructure to strengthening institutions and driving social development.
Congratulations to you. My team and I will manifest our individual leadership talents in making sure that we grow Cross River State better. Therefore, we continue to sustain all infrastructures, renew aging ones, and build new ones.
The night reaches its most electrifying moment when Governor Otu approaches the towering Christmas tree at the center of the park.
As I do this in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, the light is off!
The lighting officially launches 32 days of carnival activities, a celebration of culture, music, dance, and creativity. It continues to position Calabar as Africa's tourism heartbeat.
Welcome back. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has inaugurated an anti-corruption heads for the 36 state commands of the Corps to strengthen the fight against corruption within the Corps and among the populace. The corruption prevention strategy of the Corps was also unveiled at its 2025 Anti-Corruption Conference in Abuja.
The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has taken its anti-corruption fight a step further as it inaugurates heads of anti-corruption and transparency unit for all state commands of the Corps. Along with the inauguration, the Civil Defense Corps organized anti-corruption sensitization workshops and integrity awards for personnel selected from state commands.
The inauguration of Act 2 heads, the Integrity Awards, and the unveiling of the NSCDC Corruption Prevention Strategy all demonstrate how we are intentionally strengthening the pillars of accountability within our system.
The Corps is hoping that this exercise will serve as a proactive strategy geared towards institutionalizing accountability and zero tolerance among its personnel.
Last year, we unveiled our NSCDC whistleblowers policy. To bolster that effort, this year we are equally unveiling the NSCDC Corruption Prevention Strategy, which is a structured framework that outlines our approach to reducing misconduct, promoting due process, and reinforcing internal discipline.
The newly inaugurated officers take their oath of allegiance, pledging to pursue transparency and accountability in the discharge of their duties.
This is why the ICPC continues to champion preventive measures by working with ministries, departments, and agencies across the country to identify operational gaps, close leakages, streamline processes, and strengthen institutional integrity framework.
The Corps also unveiled a documented corruption prevention strategy, an approach that is expected to serve as the guidelines for a corruption security agency.
Now, the Senate has approved a landmark bill aimed at establishing a unified and comprehensive regulatory framework for all forms of online and remote gaming that cross state lines and extend beyond Nigeria's borders. The bill, now awaiting concurrence from the House of Representatives, was read for the third time and passed, and will soon be transmitted to President Tinubu for assent, paving the way for it to become a law. The legislation, presented as the Central Gaming Bill 2025, was introduced by Senate Leader Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, who during his presentation explained that the bill repeals the National Lottery Act of 2005 and its 2017 amendment and enacts a central gaming framework to regulate online and remote gaming nationwide. The bill will also facilitate gaming in the Federal Capital Territory and boost federal revenue. The bill was originally sponsored by Deputy Speaker Honorable Benjamin Kalu alongside 6 other lawmakers, reflecting broad legislative support. In the world of business, the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, has engaged the services of 4 global audit firms, EY, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte, to undertake an independent verification of the capital position of all insurance and reinsurance companies in Nigeria. The Commissioner for Insurance and Chief Executive Officer of NICOM, Olusegun Meshain, who made this known at a summit in Lagos, says the engagement of the Big 4 audit firms is a critical step towards safeguarding the credibility and transparency of the industry's ongoing recapitalization exercise. He explained that the move would ensure that any operator certified having met the new minimum capital requirements has done so transparently and credibly. The NICOM chief also clarified that the firms were selected to leverage their unrivaled expertise, capacity and reputation. He informed that the 4 auditors collectively controlled more than 99% of the audit market shares among Nigeria's top listed companies. The chief executive of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, says despite the 19.42% growth recorded in Nigeria's oil and gas sector, as captured in the third quarter GDP report, the industry's growth number is massive when compared with its performance last year. Speaking on our business program with Laddie Williams earlier today, Mr. Rwani also pointed out the factors that contributed to the stellar performance of the country's most critical sector.
19.42 growth in Q3 for refining. What was it the corresponding period last year? It was -30. So when you add the two together, the petroleum refining actually grew by 50%. That is huge. Not only did it grow by 50%, it was consistent. That is from that point last year to now, there have been at least 9 different price reductions by the Dangote refinery, right? So we had a sector that was in the doldrums. In other words, we had 4 refineries that were not working and some modular refineries that were finding their feet. Now, all those are back. So when you compare the production and the growth this year compared to what it was at this time last year, it's actually 50% growth, and that is massive. The major driver is that the Dangote refinery kicked into action. 2, because of that, the Nigerian NNPC refineries also woke up, and the modular refineries also woke up. So when you take the aggregate, you find that the sector actually grew massively.
Now to budgetary issues. Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal has presented the sum of 861.3 billion naira as the 2026 budget proposal to the State House of Assembly in Gusau, the state's capital. Describing the appropriation bill as a budget of stability and growth designed to consolidate ongoing reforms across Zamfara, Governor Lawal explained that the budget reflects his administration's commitment to build critical sectors, strengthen public institutions, and advance his 6-point rescue agenda, which include agriculture, security, healthcare, education, infrastructure, and social empowerment.
This budget is not just a document. It is a statement of intent, a roadmap of hope, and a pledge to ensure that the rescue mission delivers tangible progress for every citizen in Zamfara State. The 2026 budget proposal is not merely a ledger of revenue and expenditure. It is a blueprint for economic renewal. We are allocating substantial resources to capital works, especially road construction that links rural areas to urban areas, so that goods, services, produce, and people can move freely across the state. These roads will open markets for our farmers, reduce the cost of transportation, and unite communities long isolated.
And that's it on News at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwo. Up next is The World Today.